So, hey everyone, Sooner Girl here. It's been a day. I just had one of those afternoons at work that, well, all I can say, it's been a day. I decided to kind of relax, reflect, get on my YouTube channel and share some things that my father would create when he was stressed, when he just wanted to relax. And so I am going to share some of his carvings that he made me. Now he's been dead for maybe 4 or 5 years now. And so bringing out these carvings, kind of sentimental, but I wanted to share this with you. Now, my husband asked my dad one time, JT, how do you know what to carve? When you sit down to start whittling and carving, how do you make that bird? How do you make that boot? How do you make that tree? And my dad told him, well, I start with a piece of wood and I take away everything that doesn't look like a bird or a rabbit or a tree, whatever he's making. He takes away everything off of it that does not look like his intended piece. And my dad, he didn't do it professionally. He was just an amateur, taught himself, but I call it a special gifting. So I want to share some of his carvings that he made me and the girls and our family over the years. And I have a bunch. I'm not bringing them all out. This is just what I gathered up tonight, just to kind of help me unwind from a stressful day. So I hope you enjoy this. So let's start off with this little rabbit here. I don't know if you can see the detail, the little bunny tail and the fur, his paws, his ears. Just a cute little rabbit. And then here is, I believe, his version of Snoopy. Now my dad was really talented, and I don't know where it's at now, but he made me a Snoopy on top of the doghouse, and it was really good. And he also made me, back when I was just a child, when Star Wars first came out and was first famous, he made me some carvings of R2-D2 and C-3PO. I believe C-3PO. It may have just been R2-D2, but it was really good. I hope that I can find it. We've moved so many times, but this is just a little Snoopy. Let me go to something bigger here. This is a lady's boot. See some of the detail on this boot. This is all made out of wood, carved out of wood with a pocket knife. And you can see it goes down in there a ways. It's hollowed out. And everybody knew my dad. He worked at McDonnell Douglas, and he retired from there. But everybody knew him as Red Clark because he had red hair. And so he would sign his initials RC. I don't know if you can see that. And most of the time, he'd put a date on them. He didn't date this one, but I don't know if you'll see my daughter Beth's name on this. This was made for her. He made each of my kids a boot. I think everybody in the whole family has a boot. So that was a lady's boot. Let me show you a man's boot. Now this is a cowboy boot. And I don't know if you can see the stitching in detail. The heel. And the way the boot is turned up, it's just like, it looks just like a real boot. I don't know if he signed this one or not. I don't see anything on the bottom of this one, but that's the bottom of the boot. Just a nice cowboy boot. He made different variations of cowboy boots. Like here's kind of a slouchy version. The detail along the front is where it's made like stitching. And this is a deep indentation through here where the sole meets what would be the leather on a real boot. But these, of course, are made out of wood. Here's another boot. This is really pretty wood. What you see is stitching, and this has got the holes where where you would use your I don't know what they'd call it, but a lot of times getting a boot on, you had hooks where you could put them in here and yank and help pull your boots on. My dad wore cowboy boots a lot. In fact, when we first moved to this little town out of Tulsa, we moved when I was 5, and it had the old time, almost like the old time general store. This town was back in time, even for that time, and it had the old wood floors, and they would creak, and it would have the grocery side, and then you would go through, and I'm not that old, guys, I'm 50, just turned 50 not too long ago, but you would go to the other side of the store, and it would be all the clothing, cowboy hats, straw hats. So I was 5, Dad took me to that store, and because we moved to the country, he wanted to make sure I had a straw cowboy hat. And so I have a bunch of pictures of me as a little girl playing out, because I was up to 5 years of age. I lived in Tulsa, and we lived in house upon house upon house, and I didn't have a big yard to play in. We move out here, and there's 2 acres, and I get ponies and an area to run around and play in and explore. And one thing is, I wear a scar today down my back, because I didn't realize what a barbed wire fence was. And so I was out playing one day, and I decided I was kind of a rambunctious kid, adventurous in a way, and I decided to run and dive underneath a barbed wire fence. Well, I didn't dive far enough, and the barbs caught my back and went up my back. Well, we're new in town, and so Mom didn't know where to take me, so she called our neighbor next door, which was an elderly lady. And she said, "Oh, bring her over here, bring her over here." And so they put honey and sugar on that scar on my back. And I didn't get any stitches or anything, but I healed with the honey and the sugar. So, interesting little tidbit, just reliving childhood memories. Let's move to this looks like a little duck. And my dad got such enjoyment out of making these little items. He was a hard worker, and he didn't have a lot of time to whittle, but he'd come home and he would spread the newspaper out over his lap in the chair and sit for hours and just carve on a piece of wood. Let's move to this. This is a huge boot. I showed you these other boots. This kind of compares. And so this is an old-timey, I don't know if you'd call that a dress boot or just what, but it's even got the holes for the shoelaces. Once again, hollow inside. Okay, and this one has sentimental value. And I probably need to take it to my daughter this week instead of keeping it. We are going to see her in a couple of days. She's grown and married now. But this is gonna make me cry. On the bottom, and he taped it, from Grandpa to Michaela, 1996, and she was 2 years old at the time. So he made this for her when she was 2. Here is another old style boot, and this wood you can see is pitted, so it gives it a distinct look. It's got a lot of pit marks. Just kind of makes it look like an old worn out boot. This one's a little different. It is I don't know what bird it is. I don't know if it's a buzzard or what, but it's on its tree stump. Kind of reminds me of the Oklahoma hawks, maybe a hawk, because when I look at it, I see the hawks that we see sitting in the trees and along the power lines waiting to devour. And let me see what this is. Oh, this one also belongs to Michaela. I guess I'm gonna, says, oh, what's the date? Kind of fading. 2/10/99 to Michaela. Okay, I'm gonna go to this one because I think it's unique. This is a little songbird, and he made this on March 17th, 1990, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day. It was also my mom's birthday. She passed away before Dad did. But this was the year that I got married, 1990. And I got married in August. This was made in March. But, see that little hole there? See that little hole there? And I just disturbed my cat. But that is a powerful whistle. I don't know if you caught the full effects of it, but my dad can make a whistle. And so that is kind of a neat piece. So speaking of making little toys, he also made us a number of spinning tops. How many of you played with spinning tops as a kid? And this is made actually out of, you remember the old wooden spools that you would buy your thread on? This was originally an old wooden spool. But I don't know if I have any way of showing, if I can reach over here, how this spins or not. Oh yeah. So, very cool. I love these pieces. This is a little basket that he made out of a peach seed. So that was actually the seed out of a peach, and he carved it down and made this little basket. Okay, so my video was a little long on this showing of my dad's carvings, that I am having to make it into 2 parts. So we're going to split it right here. I'm going to ask that you watch part 2 as soon as I get it uploaded. I do everything from my phone, so I can only do like 15 minutes at a time, so that's the issue here. So be sure to watch part 2 of this. Remember, you have but one life to live, so go out and capture your moments.